the man who tried to change the world, and likely failed. The hi-fi world is full of snakes, liars, cheats, and miscreants. Even reputable companies fall prey to their more base instincts, stretching the truth, obfuscating the facts, distorting reality, and use marketing to hype a product to no end. I bet you could think of a few companies that fall into this category, and I'm pretty sure you could think of a few reviewers who would fall into the shill category as well. And just for fun, list them in the comments down below. What's the real problem? Well, I think it's this constant Cold War of ever-escalating hardware improvements. This year's mass drop amplifier is 0.00001% cleaner than last year's. Or, this THX amplifier has a new THX AAA chip. Companies are tripping over themselves to provide less and less distortion, cleaner sound on paper. I have said this many times before. You cannot hear it. You can't hear the difference between 0.002% and 0.001% signal to noise. But every year there are shills who keep hyping and poor schmucks that keep buying and companies keep winning while the rest of us keep losing. But many years ago, a man tried to change this. He tried to show that you did not need to buy the most expensive amplifier and DAC. He explained all of that is nothing but a sham, that you could do just as well with something that costs a portion of a fraction. That man was NWAVGuy. Well, let's just call him Jesus for shorthand. Because just like the fabled Jesus, NWAVGuy came to spread the good word of Objective 2, O2, delivered the goods, spread his message across the internets, and then ascended into the nether spaces, never to be heard from again. Except NWAVGuy was, actually real. I suppose that's a big difference. The concept. You may have heard of O2 DACs, especially if you frequent Massdrop's website. O2 this, O2 that, and now the new thing is SDAC, something designed by Grace Designs. Oh goody, something else Massdrop can hype. O2 is Objective 2, the name Jesus gave to his creation. It was an amplifier that can drive, quote, any headphone from the most sensitive IEMs to some really power-hungry full-size cans from 16 to 600 ohms. It was homebrew. It was made from off-the-shelf parts. It was as ugly or as beautiful as you wanted to make it. And it was free. Well, the design was free. Jesus estimated that someone could potentially make their own O2 for about $100. I want to emphasize this. You, the singular person who does not have the clout to negotiate parts like a big company, could buy parts at markup prices and still get an amplifier for about $100. I'm not going to talk about the electrical engineering that went into the O2. I think you should read all of that material yourself on Jesus' website. What is more important is that this man, step by painful step, described why we're all being duped. Well, I should be more precise. You see, theoretically, we were being duped back in 2011. When Jesus first started writing about O2, he mentioned that most amplifiers had questionable measurements, that they were made of crap, sounded like crap, and companies were passing them off as perfect audiophile gear. Jesus' pitch was that the ideal amplifier is one that just gets out of the way. In his view, nobody wants to listen to the amplifier. They want to listen to the music. That's true enough, but what does it actually mean? According to Jesus, it meant that amplifiers of old, think 2011, were full of distortion, provided very low power, and could not drive higher impedance headphones, and had phase errors. Jesus said that it was very upsetting for him to shop for amplifiers because none of the specs mattered, because the most important specification was never listed. Manufacturers would list power output, frequency response, THD, and crosstalk, but the impedance load measurement was not on the list. This, according to Jesus, was the key. If you knew the impedance measurements along with all the other information, you could tell if the amplifier was worth buying. Jesus had a message. You should be forgiven if you think the message is buy the O2. The message in reality is that the use of good, and notice I did not say the best, components engineered properly, and also notice I did not say with exotic wiring, will result in superlative amplifiers. As Jesus saith, quote, I'm mainly trying to prove proper design goes a lot further than using expensive designer parts, following audiophile myths, trying to reinvent the wheel, resurrecting ancient single-ended designs. The idea is to raise the bar in the industry as a whole. Amen. The industry was uplifted. Well, some of it. I think it is safe to say that O2 made a splash. Kind of. You see, it appears that a handful of companies took the design and ran with it. JDS Labs and Mayflower used Jesus' plans and made their own versions of the O2 amplifier. Both companies later integrated DACs into the design. The O2 amp design was unchanged from Jesus' original drawings. Why? Because Jesus had warned, "Thou shalt not alter thy Jesus' plans." In other words, you can use the plans, but you can't alter them. And several years later, how much has really changed? If we take a look at Jesus' teachings, it appears that he just wanted people to be more aware that they were being led by the nose, that companies were feeding us bullshit and calling it steak. He wanted to educate us. That is why he wrote his blog with very lengthy explanations about what was wrong with the industry. He explained not just in electrical and scientific terms, but also in simple terms for those of us too dumb to learn science. The takeaway, at least for me, is that one should be extra careful when buying audio gear. The signal-to-noise ratio means nothing if you don't know how it relates to the impedance, and if the manufacturer is vague about the power output, then you have no idea if the amplifier is even going to drive your headphones. And the biggest issue of all? You're paying an arm and a leg for a product that does a subpar job. Unfortunately, I do not think Jesus was successful, and I shall tell you why. Hell on earth. Well, we are still on the road to hell. In 2011 was Jesus came. The problem was that companies were giving everyone vague information. They were trying to trick people into buying hi-fi gear at exorbitant prices when those items were poorly engineered. Now, I think a lot of companies are still trying to trick us, but this time by convincing us that we need the cleanest possible sound ever. Look, whether you agree with Jesus or believe in his teachings of Objective 2 or you don't, the problem really is the same. What is clean enough? What is low enough distortion? When is enough enough? Audio companies are like shoe manufacturers. They have to add a new gimmick to a shoe every year so that they can entice people to buy the so-called upgrade. But shoes wear out with frequent use. They fall apart. Eventually, you will need a new shoe. Audio companies know you don't need a new amplifier or DAC every year, but they desperately want you to believe that you do. Yes, it was the 789 for the last few years, but now we have the 888. Yes, this portable amplifier had a THD plus N of 0.002, but now it's 0.001. This desktop amp has dynamic range of about 110 decibel, but the upcoming one is 115 decibels. The Mass Drop 789 is perfect, so you buy the balanced Mass Drop DAC to make it even more perfecter. The FIO Q5 sounds clean, but the Q5S sounds just a teeny tiny bit more cleaner. You think the 789 is impressive? Wait until Monolith unleashes their $600 888 amplifier. The never-ending competition to get cleaner and cleaner and cleaner sound is totally pointless. You can't hear it. Yes, I think that manufacturers are doing a better job than they did around 2011. They are providing more information, not always, but usually. The workmanship in products is typically fairly good, unless you're buying from Mass Drop, in which case workmanship is a total hit or miss. But the very problem that Jesus was trying to solve is, well, still here. We are still bombarded with marketing telling us that we need to buy this new product because it is cleaner, more analytical. People every once in a while say that the cleaner the amp or DAC, the better. And I always pose this one question: when is enough enough? And I never get a straight answer. Look, I have done repeated tests back to back with the Massdrop 789, the Monolith THX, the JDS Labs Element, the Monolith THX Portable, the FIO Q5, the X-Duo XD05, and so on and so forth. Sometimes there are sonic differences. One might sound a teeny tiny bit warmer, but it is rare indeed that I hear noise. If reviewers actually did honest A/B tests, I think the vast majority of the time they would have to admit that there is no noise difference whatsoever. The question for you is, can you justify spending more money for a fraction of a percentage point less noise? Can you hear the difference between the Massdrop 789 and the Monolith THX Portable? Is a less expensive product from JDS Labs noticeably more noisy than whatever product of the month Massdrop is shoving in your face? I'm sure there are people who are going to say yes. But if you're on the fence, have not really thought about this, then maybe you should. Maybe it is worth going back to the words of Jesus, reading his blog, and making sense of the hellscape that is the hi-fi world. Jesus left and is not here to save us anymore. But he left us the tools to save ourselves. If you enjoyed this content, if you enjoy any of my other content, then please consider donating to me on Patreon. Even $2 a month would help me greatly to save money. With that money, I buy new and old products that I can review for you. My reviews are as thorough as I can make them and provide details that others gloss over. If you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel. We are so close to getting 700 subscribers, and I'd love to reach that milestone before the end of the year. If you have questions or comments, please leave them below. If you would like me to review a product I currently own, please use the product review form link in the description. Fill it out, submit it, and I'll get to your request as soon as I can. I hope all of you have a wonderful, amazing day. Take care.